The 2007 NFL Draft resulted in one of the biggest busts in NFL history.
Jamarcus Russell, LSU.
Number one, baby! Yeah, I knew Al Davis was gonna do it. He's the man, he's always been. He's always had the best way of calling the picks. He's the master of the draft every year, all the time.
But what about the players drafted after him, and every player the Raiders could have selected instead? After a superb performance in the Sugar Bowl that year, LSU quarterback Jamarcus Russell took his place as the hottest prospect on the board and was selected first overall by an aging Al Davis and the then Oakland Raiders. As it transpired, he went on to become the least successful first overall pick of all time, with a lifestyle that never matched that of a franchise quarterback. Russell's career didn't get off to a great start when he held out of training camp prior to his rookie season amidst contract disputes, and it just got worse from there. He struggled with the pro game, and by 2010, he was cut by the Raiders and out of the league. His work ethic wasn't there, he struggled to keep himself in shape, and there were serious concerns about his commitment to being a pro quarterback in the NFL. Russell himself has been honest about his struggles more recently, and noted that there was a feeling that the Raiders never truly wanted him in the first place. The team owner Al Davis had developed an obsession with the LSU QB, but head coach Lane Kiffin and the coaching staff had a different vision, which brings us onto the list of players drafted right behind the quarterback. The second overall pick, Calvin Johnson, was the guy that Kiffin and his staff apparently wanted the most. The Georgia Tech wide receiver had freakish athletic ability for a man of his size, and their presumptions about him turned out to be very correct, as Megatron became one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of the game. Detroit sat second in the draft and picked the talented wideout, who would go on to spend his entire career with the Lions. While the franchise wasn't able to capitalize on just how good Calvin Johnson was during his time in the league, his individual accolades speak for themselves, and he was recently welcomed into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Megatron was a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 6-time Pro Bowler, and led the NFL in receiving yards for 2 seasons of his career. At 6'5" with an impressive vertical and superb hands, the Lions receiver was often completely unguardable and spent several seasons at the very top of the game in the NFL. Offensive tackle Joe Thomas was picked 3rd overall as an aggressive lineman out of Wisconsin. The Cleveland Browns got themselves a tackle who would go on to become a mainstay of their offensive line for over a decade, and the best lineman on the roster for the same duration. In fact, Joe Thomas would go on to become a 6-time first-team All-Pro, and one of the greatest tackles of all time. Sure, the Browns struggled for the majority of his career as a pro, but Thomas was the anchor of the line, and he went to 10 straight Pro Bowls from his rookie year to his penultimate season. Thomas is also a Hall of Famer and one of the best at his position. So while they drafted Jamarcus Russell first overall, the Raiders passed on 2 future Hall of Famers selected back-to-back with the 2nd and 3rd picks. Joe Thomas has gone on to become an analyst on the NFL Network, sharing his knowledge of the game with the world post-retirement. The 4th and 5th picks in the draft didn't make it to Pro Bowls, with defensive end Gaines Adams being selected 4th overall by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and offensive tackle Levi Brown going 5th to the Arizona Cardinals. Gaines Adams spent the first 3 seasons between 2007 and 2009 with Tampa Bay, recording a total of 13.5 sacks, before he was traded to the Chicago Bears for a 2nd-round draft pick. Sadly, in 2010, he tragically passed away from a heart condition that caused him to go into cardiac arrest. He was just 26 years old, and his heart condition had gone completely unnoticed until an autopsy report confirmed the issue. Levi Brown had spent 5 seasons at Penn State, earning multiple All-American accolades during his college career. Unfortunately, his NFL career was far from the desired outcome from a top 5 draft pick. Brown allowed 55 sacks and over 300 pressures in his career. He picked up way too many penalties and failed to deliver as a protector for Kurt Warner, Kevin Kolb, and Derek Anderson. Cardinals fans have always been devastated by the selection, especially considering a couple of the players that were drafted right behind him in the top 10. We'll get to those shortly. After struggling in his playing days, Brown was traded to the Steelers in 2013 and released shortly after in early 2014. He admitted that the transition to post-football life was hard on him and his family. With 2 master's degrees, Brown was able to explore multiple avenues and got into a role as a wealth coach. Pick number 6 back in 2007 takes us back into Pro Bowl territory, with LSU safety and teammate of Jamarcus Russell, LaRon Landry. He was a consensus All-American in 2006 and earned 2 first-team All-SEC honors during his career with the Tigers before coming into the draft as one of the hottest secondary prospects in recent years. Landry was selected by the Washington Redskins with the 6th overall pick, making him one of 4 LSU players selected in the first round, along with Russell and 2 of his wide receivers, Dwayne Bowe and Craig Davis. In 2007, Landry's rookie season, he was named the starting strong safety, playing alongside Sean Taylor. LaRon would later assume the free safety spot on the team, taking on a challenging role in filling the shoes of the legendary Sean Taylor after his untimely murder. The former LSU Tiger spent the first 5 years of his pro career in Washington, but earned his single Pro Bowl appearance in 2012 after signing with the New York Jets. it was the best year of his career, notching 100 tackles and laying hard hits relentlessly throughout the year. He had been named to a Pro Bowl alternative twice early in his career, but for that season, he earned it for real. The guy behind LaRon Landry in the draft that year is a pretty well-known figure of the sport these days too. Drafted out of Oklahoma, Adrian Peterson was selected by the Minnesota Vikings with the 7th overall selection. His career would become one of the longest and most decorated of any running backs in history. Peterson made his debut in 2007 as a member of the Vikings and played all the way through until 2021, featuring for Saints, Cardinals, Redskins, Lions, Titans, and Seahawks for short stints towards the end of his career. Over the course of that career in the NFL, Adrian Peterson racked up 14,918 rushing yards, good for 5th on the all-time rushing leaderboard. Of all the running backs in the top 10 of that list, including the likes of Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, and LaDainian Tomlinson, Peterson's 4.6 yards per carry career average is the second best, behind only the great Barry Sanders. Peter was named the NFL MVP and Offensive Player of the Year in 2012 after posting the best rushing year of his career, managing 2,097 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's one of just 8 players in the remarkable 2,000-yard club and has the second highest single-season total of all time, just 8 yards behind Eric Dickerson's record of 2,105. From his rookie season in 2007 to 2013, Peterson managed 10-plus rushing touchdowns in 7 straight seasons. He was the NFL Rookie of the Year, earned 4 first-team All-Pro honors, 7 Pro Bowl appearances, and dominated on the ground consistently during his prime. AP led the NFL in rushing yards 3 times in his career, and rushing touchdowns twice. Calvin Johnson and Joe Thomas might already be in the Hall of Fame, but Adrian Peterson's football career is deserving of joining them one day too. After Adrian Peterson, the Hall of Fame potential dropped off for a few picks, with Jamal Anderson being selected 8th by the Atlanta Falcons. Don't ask Falcons fans about this one. Anderson was supposed to come in and add some much-needed firepower to the defensive line. Atlanta wanted him to be a key feature in the team's pass rush plans, but that's not exactly how it transpired. For some reason, it just never worked out. After 6 seasons, Anderson was done, and with one of the most forgettable NFL careers in Atlanta Falcons history. The next guy was an exciting speed threat who went on to have a lengthy career in the league as a supporting receiver for several different franchises. Ted Ginn Jr. had track-level speed and had competed to a national championship level in the 110-meter hurdles in high school. He won state titles in track events and took his speed and talent as a wide receiver to Ohio State in 2004. Fast forward to the 2007 NFL Draft, and Ginn was selected by the Miami Dolphins with the 9th overall pick. It was far from the popular selection with quarterback Brady Quinn still on the board, and the Dolphins desperate for a new signal caller at the time. Ginn would only spend 3 seasons in Miami and was benched during his career down in South Florida. After 3 years, he was traded to the San Francisco 49ers, where he struggled to earn reps on the field, and in 3 years, caught just 31 passes for 384 yards and 1 touchdown. He resurrected his career somewhat with the Carolina Panthers, helping them to the Super Bowl in 2015. Ginn caught 4 passes for 74 yards in the game, but Carolina fell to a sensational Denver Broncos defense and an offense led by a veteran, Peyton Manning. Ted Ginn Jr. managed 700-plus receiving yards 4 times in his NFL career, but never reached 800-plus in a single season. He was a great supporting receiver for a couple of teams, including Carolina in one of his years in New Orleans, but never quite hit the heights he was expected to out of college. The 10th overall pick that year happens to be the youngest man ever drafted in the NFL draft process. Amobi Okoye, a defensive tackle out of Louisville, was just 19 years old when he was picked by the Houston Texans in 2007. To this day, he's one of only 2 teenagers to be drafted in the NFL, joined by Tremaine Edmonds when the Bills picked him. Okoye got off to a hot start in the league too, managing 4 sacks in his first 4 games as a pro. He finished that season with 5.5 sacks total, and that would be the highest season total of his career. He spent 4 seasons in Houston and was released at the end of his rookie deal before going to Chicago for another 2 disappointing seasons. We'll wrap up the video with 2 guys who bring the list back to life. Patrick Willis was the 11th overall pick and the 10th player selected after Jamarcus Russell in 2007. The hard-hitting middle linebacker had been named the SEC Defensive Player of the Year at Ole Miss in 2006, as well as receiving back-to-back first-team All-American and All-SEC honors during his college career. Willis was selected by the San Francisco 49ers, where he went on to spend the entirety of his NFL career. Willis was a tackle machine early in his career, posting 174 total tackles in his rookie year, leading the NFL. He was named to the Pro Bowl on the first attempt and won the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year award. The middle linebacker hit 100-plus tackles 6 times in his first 7 seasons in the NFL, and the 1 year he came up short, he had managed 97 in 13 starts. Patrick Willis was one of the greats for the 7 seasons he played, but unfortunately, a nasty toe injury requiring surgery in year 8 ended his season. It would eventually lead to Willis announcing his retirement. Many are expecting that Willis will get his call up to the Hall of Fame one day, not too far from now, and it felt strange that he was snubbed in 2023. And finally, we couldn't end the video without paying homage to the legendary Marshawn Lynch, who was drafted 12th overall in 2007 by the Buffalo Bills. Lynch was picked 5 picks later than Adrian Peterson and hit the ground running in Buffalo with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. After a troubled year in 2009 and a slow start in 2010, Lynch was traded to the Seattle Seahawks, where he'd really make a name for himself in the league. Nicknamed Beast Mode, Lynch gained a reputation as one of the hardest runners in the history of the NFL. He rarely tried to run around you and just happily ran right through you. He had 4 straight years in Seattle as one of the league's very best players, posting 48 regular season touchdowns in those 4 seasons and another 9 in the playoffs. Beast Mode helped the Seahawks win Super Bowl 48 and likely should have helped them to a second had it not been for that play call against the Patriots. Marshawn Lynch's career drew to a close with the Super Bowl ring, a first-team All-Pro selection, 5 Pro Bowls, and led the NFL in rushing touchdowns twice in his career. Coincidentally, Marshawn ended his career in Oakland with the Raiders. He was his usual self and ran through many defenders and finished his career strong, making hometown memories in the town. When he retired, he was not only one of the most impressive running backs the NFL has ever seen, but also one of the most lovable characters.
Y'all got 2 more minutes to look at me. Shout out to my real Africans out there. I'm just about that action, boss.
Lynch has gone on to a post-football career in TV and entertainment while embracing the opportunity to educate younger players on how to take care of their money in order to live a sustainable life after football. If you enjoyed this video, we invite you to subscribe. We're going to pass 1 million subs. Just watch. Thank you for watching The Halftime Show.